Good afternoon, 7th grade Bobcats. Mr. Flato here. Welcome back to what I hope will be a great week for you here at the Helena Middle School. On this week's B.O.B Lesson, going to hit on part 3 of career values. We just wrapped this up last week. Big shout out to Mr. Nicholson and all the students that came in and really bought in and got something out of it and bought into their own career exploration. Some of this by now is going to be a little bit of a review, but just a reminder, it's always a good time to be thinking about future, think about what you want to do in the future, get a jump start on that, have a plan, go execute that plan, go be purposeful when it comes to your future instead of being reactive. Great job by the vast majority of you last week, 7th graders, doing this. It was really awesome to see kind of where your minds are at in terms of what you may want to do someday. And for those of you that came away with it still a little bit undecided, that's okay. You're never going to fully make a decision on your career when you're 12 or 13 years old. It's just good to get thinking about it. So let's rock and roll on this week. Make it a great week. All right, this week's B.O.B Lesson is going to be titled Career Values Part 3. But first, let's be our best this week at HMS. Let's be B.O.B. Let's be safe. Let's be responsible. Let's be respectful. And let's be a learner. Talked about it once. Talked about it real again in the intro. We're looking for the trifecta here. We want to find careers, satisfy our interests, satisfy our values, and fit within our capacities. And it is then and only then when you find your true purpose or calling in life. All right, the first one I'm going to talk about today is authority. For anybody that has to be in control, has to have the power. Some people are like that. They can't give up power. They can't give up control. And they need high levels of authority. Is it important to you to find a career where you are the boss and hold authority over others? And I put in over others, but that doesn't necessarily need to be the case. It can just be that you have to have the power. The next one is social status. When I think of high careers that have high social status, I think of professional athletes. I think of President of the United States. I think of Governor Mr. Bullock. We had him on a B.O.B Lesson last year. I think of professional singers, things of that nature. I think of principals of middle schoolers. Shout out Mr. McKay. Some people like jobs that have high social status. Is it important to you to find a career where you're viewed by others as being someone important in society? I don't know. Is it? The third value is coworkers, and this one I feel pretty blessed to be working with some awesome coworkers in this school. You spend a lot of time working with other people, and you don't get to choose. You get to choose your friends. You don't get to choose your coworkers all of the time. Is it important to you to find a career where you work with others you genuinely like and get along with well? You come to work every day for 8 hours, 2,080 hours a year on average. That's a lot of time to be spending with people that you don't like. So if it's important to you to find coworkers who you get along with well, that may be a value that you hold near and dear to your heart. The fourth one I'm going to talk about is moral values. When we talk about moral values, we're not talking about things that are against the law. We're not talking about things that are ethically, which isn't against the law, but how would I describe ethics? Ethics is you just shouldn't do it because it's doing the right thing. Well, moral values are things that are important to you. And there's lots of jobs out there that aren't very morally savvy, I guess I would say, and I'm not going to get into a whole lot of them. But the one that I will get into is, say, being a cigarette or a tobacco salesperson. And maybe you had a grandfather, a grandmother, a mom, a father that passed away from lung cancer. So that would be something morally that you would be against, is cigarette smoking or tobacco use. So is it important to you to find a career where you're not asked to do something that is in conflict with your moral values? That would be a situation that I described that may fit against your moral values. It's hard for me to go out making a living selling well, I'll give you a perfect example. In my old job, I was in charge of selling Coke and other alcohol products. And every day I would see people lined up at Town Pump at 8 a.m. trying to buy their alcohol. And I thought to myself, I am promoting something that maybe isn't good for that person or their family or our society as a whole if that person gets in trouble or gets behind the wheel. So that was something that was kind of starting to go against my moral values a little bit in my old career. But in the example I gave you, if you're asked to go out and promote tobacco sales and you have a family member that that has passed away from cancer caused by that tobacco, that might be against your moral values. So everybody has a different moral compass. Everybody has a different set of moral values. What is yours? And is it important to find a career that doesn't compromise those? The last is supervision. In virtually every position you're in, someday in this world, you're going to have somebody that you answer to. Even if you are the boss of something, you have a board of directors to answer to. We all answer to somebody. And if that somebody is fair and kind and understands your job and works with you on things, that can be vitally important. If they're not, that can make your job a real headache in a hurry. I'm blessed to work for awesome administrators here, along with awesome coworkers, as I mentioned before, so I feel pretty lucky. And I haven't really been in a career or job where I haven't worked for a great supervisor that I really like, but I know people that do, and it can really make their job tough. So is it important to you to find a career where you're treated fairly by the authority figure or figures that are above you? So I went over 5 today. There's 15 total. Go back and watch those other ones. Start thinking about when you're looking at careers, or maybe even a job when you're in high school someday, what is important to you? Unfortunately, you can't have them all. So pick out the ones that are important to you and find a career where those values are being met. This week's quote of the week comes courtesy of this gentleman here, Gary Vaynerchuk. He is somebody I just found on social media, and I liked a lot of the stuff he put out. Him and his family migrated from somewhere in Eastern Europe, I believe maybe Russia, when he was a kid, lived in New York City, crammed in an apartment. There's like 7 or 8 of them in a 2-bedroom apartment, and just became an entrepreneur, which is somebody that creates their own business in life. And he puts a lot of cool stuff out on social media. I know we're not talking about social media today, but I know a lot of you are on social media. If you're going to be on it, follow something inspiring, follow something that challenges you to be a better person and that's not going to drag you down. Anyways, this is kind of what this is all about. We talk about figuring out who we are at this age, and the quote of the week is figure out who you are. Don't apologize for who you are. Unless you need to make some changes, then we need to, and then become even greater than you naturally are at what you are. So figure out who you are, don't apologize for it, become an even greater version of yourself than you naturally are, and go for it in your career or whatever it is you want to do. And again, that's just being Bob, being your best, being the best version of your. Brings us to this week's Jellybean Question of the Week winners, who are Abby Jaquez, Madison Sasser, Sophia Albrecht, Jordan Moldenauer, and Mr. Kepler. The answer was swims. This week's Jellybean Question of the Week is, if you have 2 coins which total 35 cents and one of the coins is not a dime, what are the 2 coins? If you think you know the answer, submit your answer to the Bob Box. Tune in next week, see if you are a winner. All right, Bobcats, let's go make it a great week.